The abduction. The night sky over rural Montana sparkled with countless stars, a dazzling canopy that seemed to stretch into infinity. For 16-year-old Zane Cooper, those stars had always been a source of wonder and mystery. Little did he know, they also held the secret to his true identity. Zane sat on the roof of his family's farmhouse, his legs dangling over the edge as he gazed upward. His unruly dark hair ruffled in the cool night breeze. He'd snuck out here countless times before, drawn by an inexplicable longing he couldn't quite explain. "I wish I could be up there," he whispered to himself, reaching a hand toward the heavens. "There's got to be more out there than just this." As if in answer to his unspoken desire, a blazing light suddenly streaked across the sky. Zane's eyes widened as he tracked its trajectory. It wasn't a shooting star, it was moving too erratically, changing direction as it descended. The object, now clearly some kind of craft, touched down in the cornfield beyond the barn. Zane's heart raced. This was it, the moment he'd been waiting for his whole life. Proof that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Without a second thought, he scrambled down from the roof and took off running toward the field. The stalks of corn whipped at his face and arms as he pushed through, but he barely noticed. All that mattered was reaching that craft. As he burst into a small clearing, Zane skidded to a halt. There, hovering just above the ground, was a sleek silver ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. Its hull gleamed in the moonlight, covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. A hatch on the side of the craft slid open with a soft hiss. Zane held his breath, every muscle in his body tense with anticipation. This was the moment that would change everything. But what emerged from the ship wasn't the benevolent alien visitor he'd imagined. A massive reptilian creature unfolded itself from the hatch, its scaled hide a mottled green and brown. Multiple arms, each ending in wickedly curved claws, extended from its torso. Its head swiveled toward Zane, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth and glowing yellow eyes. Zane stumbled backward, his excitement turning to terror in an instant. This was no friendly alien come to make first contact. This was a predator, and he was its prey. "The bloodline lies," the creature growled, its voice a guttural rumble that sent chills down Zane's spine. "You will come with us, young prince." Prince? Zane's mind reeled, unable to process what was happening. He turned to run, but more of the alien creatures had emerged from the ship, surrounding him in a tightening circle. "Please," Zane gasped, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "There's been some kind of mistake. I'm not a prince. I'm nobody." The lead alien's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile, though it was no less terrifying for the attempt. "Your ignorance of your heritage changes nothing. The Draknor Empire has searched for you for a very long time, last scion of the Stellari throne." Before Zane could protest further, one of the aliens lunged forward with impossible speed. A scaly hand clamped over his mouth, muffling his scream. He struggled, but it was like fighting against steel cables. His vision swam as some kind of sweet-smelling gas was released near his face. As consciousness faded, Zane's last thought was of the stars he'd gazed at so longingly. He was going to see them up close after all, but not in the way he'd ever imagined. When Zane awoke, it was to a world of cold metal and harsh light. He blinked, disoriented, as his eyes adjusted to his surroundings. He was in some kind of cell, the walls a uniform gunmetal gray broken only by strange, pulsing circuitry. A shimmering force field crackled across the open front of the cell, beyond which he could see a curving corridor. As the fog of unconsciousness cleared, memories came rushing back. The ship in the cornfield, the terrifying reptilian aliens, their impossible claims about his heritage. Zane's breath came in ragged gasps as panic threatened to overwhelm him. "Calm yourself, young one," a gentle voice spoke from the shadows of a neighboring cell. "Hysteria will not serve you here." Zane squinted, trying to make out the source of the voice. Gradually, a figure resolved itself, humanoid, but definitely not human. Its skin was a pale lavender, with delicate tendrils framing a face that looked almost elfin. Large, luminous eyes regarded Zane with a mixture of sadness and curiosity. "Who? What are you?" Zane managed to croak out, his throat dry and raspy. The alien inclined its head in a gesture that seemed both respectful and slightly amused. "I am Lyra, last free scientist of the Stellari people, and you, unless I'm very much mistaken, are our long-lost prince." Zane shook his head vehemently. "No, that's impossible. I'm just a kid from Montana. My parents are farmers." Lyra's expression softened. "Your adoptive parents, perhaps. But the blood that flows through your veins is far older and carries a power you cannot yet imagine. The Drachnor seek to use that power for their own ends, to dominate the galaxy as they once did in ages past." Before Zane could reply, heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. A massive Drachnor, even larger than the ones Zane had seen on Earth, approached the cells, its yellow eyes fixed on Zane with predatory intensity. "The hybrid awakens," it rumbled. "Good. Lord Vex will be pleased." The force field to Zane's cell flickered and died. The Drachnor reached in with one long arm, seizing Zane by the front of his shirt and hauling him out effortlessly. "Wait," Zane cried, twisting in the alien's grip. "Where are you taking me?" The Drachnor's mouth split in a nightmarish grin. "To meet your destiny, little prince, in the arena." As Zane was dragged away, Lyra called out after him, "Remember who you are, Zane. The power is within you. You need only find the courage to use it." The corridors of the Drachnor ship were a maze of twisting metal and pulsing energy conduits. Zane tried to memorize the route, but it was hopeless. Every turn looked the same, and the Drachnor moved with purposeful speed. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber that took Zane's breath away. It was a coliseum of impossible scale, easily large enough to fit several football stadiums. Tier upon tier of seats rose into the darkness above, filled with thousands of alien spectators. The floor of the arena was covered in reddish sand, stained darker in places Zane didn't want to think about. The Drachnor roughly shoved Zane forward, sending him stumbling onto the arena floor. A deafening roar went up from the crowd, a cacophony of alien voices crying out for blood. At the far end of the arena, a massive gate began to rise. Zane's heart pounded in his chest as he heard the sound of heavy breathing and the scrape of claws on metal. Whatever was coming, it was big, and it was angry. With a final thunderous clang, the gate locked into place. For a moment, there was silence. Then, with a bone-chilling roar, the beast emerged. It was like nothing Zane had ever seen or imagined. Part bear, part lion, part something utterly alien, it stood easily 15 feet tall at the shoulder. Multiple limbs, each ending in razor-sharp claws, propelled it forward with terrifying speed. Its head was a nightmare of fangs and glowing red eyes. This was the Drachnor war beast, bred for centuries to be the ultimate killing machine, and Zane was its prey. As the monster charged, time seemed to slow. Zane's mind raced, searching desperately for some way out of this nightmare. But there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He was going to die here, light years from home, on an alien world he'd never even known existed. Just as the war beast's jaws were about to close around him, something deep within Zane's mind clicked into place. A rush of energy surged through his body, unlike anything he'd ever felt before. Without conscious thought, he raised his hands. A blinding pulse of blue-white light erupted from Zane's palms, catching the war beast full in the chest. The monster was thrown backward, skidding across the arena floor with a howl of pain and surprise. Zane stared at his hands in shock, wisps of energy still crackling around his fingers. The crowd had gone deathly silent. High above in a private viewing box, Lord Vex of the Drachnor leaned forward, his reptilian features twisted in a mixture of triumph and hunger. At last, he hissed, "The power of the Stellari awakens. Let the true game begin." The awakening. The arena fell silent as Zane stood, hands still crackling with ethereal energy, facing the stunned war beast. The young human's mind reeled, trying to process what had just happened. He had unlocked something within himself, a power he never knew existed. Lord Vex's voice boomed across the stadium, breaking the tense silence. The lost prince reveals his true nature. Let the trial of ascension begin. The war beast, shaking off its momentary shock, let out a thunderous roar and charged again. This time, Zane was ready. He didn't understand his newfound abilities, but instinct took over. He raised his hands, focusing on the strange energy coursing through his body. A shimmering barrier of blue light materialized in front of him, just as the beast's massive claws came slashing down. The force of the impact sent vibrations through Zane's entire body, but the shield held. The war beast snarled in frustration, redoubling its assault. As Zane struggled to maintain the barrier, his mind raced. The Drachnor, Lyra's words about his heritage, this inexplicable power, it was all too much to process. But one thing was clear. If he didn't figure out how to use these abilities quickly, he wouldn't survive long enough to unravel the mystery. With a primal yell, Zane pushed outward with his mind. The energy barrier expanded explosively, sending the war beast tumbling backward. Seizing the moment, Zane focused on the strange tingling in his fingertips. Bolts of crackling energy shot forth, striking the beast and eliciting howls of pain. The crowd's silence had transformed into a frenzy of excited shouts and cheers. The Drachnor spectators were witnessing something unprecedented, a mere human child holding his own against their mightiest war beast. High above in his viewing box, Lord Vex watched with growing excitement. Yes, he hissed, reptilian tongue flicking out to taste the air. Show us the full extent of your power, young prince. Prove yourself worthy of the prophecy. Back in the arena, Zane was beginning to tire. Each use of his newfound abilities drained him, and the war beast seemed tireless in its assault. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. He needed to end this, and fast. Closing his eyes, Zane reached deep within himself, tapping into a well of power he'd only begun to scratch the surface of. The air around him began to shimmer and distort, reality itself seeming to bend to his will. The war beast, sensing something was amiss, hesitated in its charge. That moment of uncertainty was all Zane needed. With a cry that echoed with otherworldly power, he unleashed a wave of pure energy that swept across the arena. The beast was lifted off its feet, suspended in midair for a heart-stopping moment before being slammed into the far wall with bone-crushing force. It slid to the ground, unmoving. Zane fell to his knees, exhausted but alive. The arena erupted in chaos, some Drachnor cheering wildly, others shouting in disbelief and anger. Through the commotion, Zane heard Lord Vex's voice once more. The trial is complete. The lost prince has proven his worth. Bring him to me. The true test begins now. As Drachnor guards surrounded Zane, hauling him to his feet, a small figure darted out from a hidden entrance to the arena. It was Lyra, the Stellari scientist he'd met in the cell. Zane, she called out, dodging past the surprised guards. Remember, your power comes from within. Trust in yourself and in your heritage. The fate of galaxies rests in your hands. Before Zane could respond, Lyra was tackled by Drachnor soldiers. As they dragged her away, she locked eyes with Zane one last time. In that moment, he saw not just determination, but hope. The guards led Zane through winding corridors, ascending higher into the massive Drachnor vessel. His mind was a whirlwind of questions and emotions. He'd just defeated a monster straight out of his worst nightmares, unlocked impossible abilities, and apparently confirmed his status as some long-lost alien prince. It was almost too much to bear. Finally, they arrived at a set of ornate doors that slid open silently. Beyond lay a chamber that took Zane's breath away. One entire wall was a massive viewport, revealing the star-studded expanse of space. Sleek, organic-looking consoles lined the walls, staffed by Drachnor operators. And there, seated upon a twisted throne of gleaming metal, was Lord Vex. Up close, the Draknor leader was even more imposing. Easily 12 feet tall, his scales shimmered with an iridescent quality that spoke of genetic manipulation. Multiple arms were folded across his broad chest, and his yellow eyes gleamed with cruel intelligence. "Welcome, young prince," Vex rumbled, his voice a mixture of gravel and oil. "You've proven yourself in the arena. Now, it's time you learned of your true destiny." Zane straightened his back, summoning what courage he could. "I'm not your prince," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I'm just a kid from Earth. Whatever you think I am, you're mistaken." Vex's mouth split in a nightmarish grin. "Oh, but you are so much more than that, child. You are the key to unlocking power beyond imagining, the power to reshape the very fabric of reality itself." With a gesture, Vex activated a holographic display. Images flickered to life, star maps, ancient ruins, and strange symbols Zane couldn't begin to decipher. Eons ago, Vex began, the Stellari ruled a vast empire that spanned galaxies. They were not conquerors, but peacekeepers, using their mastery of cosmic energies to maintain balance. But they grew complacent, and that was their downfall. The hologram shifted, showing scenes of battle and destruction. Zane watched in horror as entire worlds were consumed by fire. The Draknor rose up, Vex continued, a note of pride in his voice. "We took what was rightfully ours, driving the Stellari to the brink of extinction. But their final act was to hide away the source of their power, the cosmic nexus. Only one of Stellari blood can unlock its secrets." Zane's mind raced, trying to process everything he was hearing. "And you think that's me? But I'm human." Vex leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "You are the result of a desperate gambit. The last Stellari queen, fleeing our forces, crash-landed on your primitive world millennia ago. She used the last of her power to hide her essence within the human bloodline, knowing that one day, a child would be born with the full potential of the Stellari." "That's impossible," Zane whispered, but even as he said it, he knew it was true. He could feel it in his very bones, in the strange energy that now coursed through his veins. "Oh, it's very possible," Vex said, rising from his throne. "And now, you will help us claim what is rightfully ours. You will unlock the cosmic nexus, and the Draknor will reshape the universe as we see fit." Zane took a step back, his hands clenching into fists. "And if I refuse?" Vex's expression darkened. "Then we will rain fire upon your homeworld, and you will watch as everything you've ever known burns to ash." As if to emphasize the point, the viewport shifted, revealing a familiar blue-green planet. Earth hung there, peaceful and unsuspecting, as Draknor warships moved into position around it. Zane felt the weight of galaxies settling upon his shoulders. He was just one boy, thrust into a conflict spanning eons. But as he looked at his home, threatened by these monstrous aliens, he knew he had no choice. He would find a way to stop the Draknor, to protect Earth and uncover the truth of his heritage. Somehow, he would master these strange new powers and live up to the legacy of the Stellari. The fate of everything rested in his hands, and Zane Cooper, the boy from Montana who had dreamed of the stars, knew that his greatest adventure was only just beginning. The Cosmic Rebellion. Zane stood before the massive viewport, Earth hanging vulnerably in the star-studded expanse. Lord Vex's ultimatum echoed in his mind: unlock the cosmic nexus or watch his homeworld burn. The weight of galaxies pressed down on his young shoulders, but a spark of defiance ignited within him. "I won't help you destroy everything," Zane declared, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "The Stellari were peacekeepers, not conquerors. If I really am their heir, then I have a responsibility to stop you." Vex's reptilian features contorted in rage. "Foolish child, you have no concept of the power you deny us." The Draknor leader raised a clawed hand, energy crackling around his fingers. "Perhaps you need further motivation." Before Vex could strike, alarms blared throughout the command center. Draknor operators scrambled at their consoles, hissing in their guttural language. My lord, one called out. We're under attack. The viewport shifted, revealing a swarm of sleek, silver ships emerging from hyperspace. They moved with impossible grace, weaving between the much larger Drachnor vessels and unleashing precise energy blasts that crippled engines and weapons systems. Vex roared in fury. Stellari insurgents. How dare they? Zane's heart leaped. Could there be more survivors of his people? As he watched the battle unfold, he felt a strange resonance with the attacking ships, as if he could sense the minds piloting them. Seizing the moment of chaos, Zane focused on the strange energy within him. He reached out with his mind, searching for a connection. To his amazement, he felt an answering pulse of recognition. Zane. A familiar voice echoed in his head. It was Lyra, the Stellari scientist he'd met in the prison cell. We're here to rescue you, but we need your help to break through the Drachnor defenses. Without fully understanding how, Zane projected his thoughts outward. What do I do? Trust your instincts. Lyra's voice guided him. The power of the Stellari flows through you. You can disrupt their systems, create an opening for us. Zane closed his eyes, reaching deep within himself. He visualized the complex web of energy flowing through the Drachnor ship, seeing it as clearly as if he held a schematic in his hands. With a burst of concentration, he sent a pulse of disruptive energy surging through the systems. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered and died, plunging the command center into darkness, broken only by the glow of emergency lighting. Vex bellowed in rage, lashing out blindly in Zane's direction. But Zane was already moving. Acting on pure instinct, he dove and rolled, narrowly avoiding Vex's slashing claws. He came up in a crouch, hands outstretched, and felt the familiar surge of power. A blinding flash illuminated the chamber. When it faded, a shimmering portal hung in the air before Zane. Through it, he could see the interior of one of the Stellari ships. Jump, Lyra's voice urged in his mind. Now. Without hesitation, Zane leaped through the portal. He felt a moment of vertigo as reality seemed to twist around him. Then he was tumbling onto the deck of the Stellari vessel. Lyra was there, helping him to his feet as the portal winked out of existence behind him. Incredible, she breathed, her luminous eyes wide with wonder. You've already begun to tap into abilities that took our greatest masters years to master. Before Zane could reply, the ship rocked violently. Through the viewscreen, he saw the Drachnor fleet regrouping, bringing their formidable weapons to bear. We need to get out of here, Zane said urgently. They're going to destroy us. Lyra's expression was grim but determined. Not if we can help it. Zane, I know this is asking a lot, but we need you to do something only a true Stellari heir can accomplish. She led him to the heart of the ship, where a pulsing crystalline structure dominated the chamber. This is our star core, Lyra explained. It's how we channel the cosmic energies that power our technology. But with your royal bloodline, you can amplify its power exponentially. Zane approached the star core hesitantly. As he neared it, he felt a humming resonance that seemed to call to something deep within his very DNA. He placed his hands on the crystal's smooth surface and gasped as energy surged through him. Suddenly, Zane's consciousness expanded. He could feel every atom of the ship, every mind of its crew. More than that, he sensed the vast tapestry of space-time itself stretching out around them. With a thought, he could bend it to his will. Hold on to something, Zane called out, his voice echoing with otherworldly power. Reality itself seemed to fold around the Stellari fleet. In a burst of dazzling light that momentarily outshone the stars themselves, they vanished, leaving the befuddled Drachnor forces behind. When Zane's vision cleared, he found himself staring at a breathtaking sight. A massive space station hung before them, its graceful spires and sweeping arches unlike anything he'd ever seen. It pulsed with the same energy he now felt coursing through his veins. Welcome, Lyra said softly, to Astralis, the last hidden stronghold of the Stellari people. And now, young prince, your true journey begins. As Zane took in the awe-inspiring view, his mind raced with questions. He had unlocked powers beyond imagination, discovered a heritage that spanned galaxies, and found himself at the center of a cosmic conflict. The boy from Montana who had dreamed of the stars now stood at a crossroads of cosmic significance. The Drachnor threat loomed, Earth hung in the balance, and the legacy of an ancient civilization rested on his shoulders. Zane Cooper, the lost prince of the Stellari, knew that his greatest challenges and greatest adventures lay ahead. The stars themselves seemed to whisper of destiny, and he was ready to answer their call. The Stellar Awakening. As Zane stepped onto the gleaming surface of Astralis, he felt a surge of energy unlike anything he'd experienced before. The very air seemed to hum with power, resonating with something deep within his DNA. Lyra and a group of Stellari elders flanked him, their luminous eyes filled with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Welcome home, young prince," an elderly Stellari with shimmering silver tendrils said, bowing deeply. "I am Celeste, High Keeper of Astralis. We have awaited your arrival for millennia." Zane swallowed hard, still struggling to process everything that had happened. I'm on it," he managed to say. "But I'm not sure I'm ready for all this. Yesterday I was just a kid from Montana, and now—" Celeste's expression softened. "And now you carry the hopes of galaxies on your shoulders. It is a heavy burden, but one you were born to bear." As they walked through the twisting corridors of Astralis, Zane marveled at the advanced technologies surrounding them. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing star charts and data streams he couldn't begin to comprehend. Stellari of all ages stopped to stare and whisper as he passed, some reaching out as if to touch a living legend. They arrived at a vast chamber dominated by a pulsing crystalline structure that dwarfed the star core on the ship. Zane felt an immediate connection to it, as if it were calling out to him on a cellular level. "This is the heart of Astralis," Celeste explained. "It is the source of our power and the key to unlocking your full potential. But be warned, the process of awakening your stellar essence will not be easy. You will face trials that will test you to your very core." Zane took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "I'm ready, whatever it takes to stop the Drachnor and save Earth." Celeste nodded solemnly. Then let the rite of astral ascension begin. As Zane approached the heart, tendrils of energy reached out to him, enveloping him in a cocoon of light. He felt himself rising off the ground, suspended in a web of pure cosmic power. Images flashed before his eyes, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the very fabric of reality unfolding before him. But mixed with these cosmic visions were scenes from his own life, his first steps, his parents' loving smiles, lazy summer days spent dreaming of adventure. Zane realized with a pang of homesickness just how far he'd come from that simple life. Suddenly, the energy cocoon shattered, and Zane found himself in a void of absolute darkness. A voice, ancient and powerful, echoed through his mind. "Zane Cooper, last scion of the Stellari throne, you stand at a crossroads of cosmic significance. To claim your birthright, you must pass 3 trials. Are you prepared?" Zane's heart raced, but his voice was steady as he replied, "I am." The void shifted, and Zane found himself standing on a narrow bridge spanning an impossibly vast chasm. At the far end stood a figure he'd never thought he'd see again, his adoptive father from Earth. "Dad," Zane called out, his voice cracking with emotion. The figure smiled warmly. "Hey, kiddo, looks like you've gotten yourself into quite the adventure." Zane started forward, but stopped as the bridge began to crumble beneath his feet. His father's voice called out, "You can save me, Zane, just like you can save Earth. But you'll have to let go of your past to do it. The choice is yours." Tears streamed down Zane's face as he realized the cruel nature of this first trial. To move forward, to fully embrace his Stellari heritage, he would have to let go of the life he'd known. With a heart-wrenching sob, Zane turned away from the image of his father, watching as the bridge and the familiar figure crumbled into the abyss. "You have passed the trial of sacrifice," the cosmic voice intoned. "Now, Face the trial of wisdom. The void shifted again, and Zane found himself in a vast library. Books and scrolls stretched as far as the eye could see, each containing knowledge that could reshape the universe. A familiar figure stood before him, Lord Vex of the Draknor. "Foolish child," Vex sneered. "You think you can defeat us? We have eons of knowledge and power at our disposal. Join us, and we'll share it all with you. Resist and watch everything you love burn." Zane felt the temptation keenly. With that knowledge, he could protect Earth, save his people, reshape reality itself. But as he reached for a tome, he hesitated. "Knowledge without compassion is meaningless," Zane said, surprising himself with the wisdom of his words. "The Stellari were peacekeepers, not conquerors. I choose to follow their path." Vex snarled in rage, but his form dissolved into mist. The cosmic voice spoke again. "You have passed the trial of wisdom. Finally, you must face the trial of power." The library vanished, replaced by a swirling maelstrom of cosmic energy. Zane felt power beyond imagination coursing through him. With a thought, he could create or destroy worlds. The temptation to reshape the universe to his will was almost overwhelming. But even as he reveled in this newfound power, Zane remembered the faces of those he'd met on his journey: Lyra, Celeste, the hopeful eyes of the Stellari people. He thought of Earth, of his family and friends, of all those counting on him. With a supreme effort of will, Zane reined in the cosmic energies. "Power is a responsibility, not a right," he declared. "I choose to use it in service of others, not for my own gain." The maelstrom calmed, and Zane found himself back in the chamber with the heart of Astralis. But he was changed. His body glowed with an inner light, and he could feel the very pulse of the cosmos flowing through him. Celeste and the other Stellari looked on in awe. "You have done it," Celeste whispered. "You have fully awakened your stellar essence. The true Heir has returned." Zane floated gently back to the ground, his mind reeling from the experience. He knew now what he had to do: to master these incredible abilities, to unite the scattered remnants of his people, and to face the Draknor threat head-on. As if in answer to his thoughts, alarms blared throughout Astralis. A young Stellari burst into the chamber, panic evident in her voice. "High Keeper, we've detected a massive Draknor fleet on approach. They found us." Zane's eyes blazed with determination. The final battle for the fate of galaxies was about to begin, and he was ready to face his destiny: the cosmic convergence. The alarms blaring throughout Astralis sent a shiver of urgency through the assembled Stellari. Zane, still glowing with newfound power, turned to Celeste with determination in his eyes. "We need to evacuate," he said, his voice carrying an authority that surprised even him. "Astralis may be hidden, but it's not impregnable. We can't risk losing everyone here." Celeste nodded, her luminous eyes filled with a mixture of pride and concern. "You speak wisely, young prince. But where shall we go?" "The Draknor hunt us across the stars." Zane closed his eyes, reaching out with his newly awakened senses. He could feel the vast tapestry of setting stretching out around them, and within it, a familiar blue-green jewel. "Earth," he said, opening his eyes. "It's the last place they'd expect us to go, and it's where this all began. Plus, I have a score to settle with Lord Vex for threatening my home." As the Stellari scrambled to prepare for evacuation, Zane worked with Lyra and the station's engineers to devise a plan. Using his unique connection to the heart of Astralis, they would attempt something never before achieved: a mass teleportation of the entire station and its inhabitants across vast interstellar distances. "It's risky," Lyra cautioned, her brow furrowed as she examined the calculations. "The energy required is astronomical. We could burn out the heart entirely." Zane placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We have to try. It's our only chance." As the Draknor fleet drew nearer, the plan was set in motion. Stellari of all ages gathered in the central chamber, their faces a mix of fear and hope. Zane stood before the heart of Astralis, feeling its pulsing energy calling out to him. "Everyone, link hands," he called out. Focus your thoughts on Earth, on safety, on home. Let your energy flow through me and into the heart. As the stellari joined hands, forming a vast network of living energy, Zane placed his palms on the crystalline surface of the heart. Immediately, he felt a surge of power unlike anything he'd experienced before. The combined hopes, fears, and strength of his entire people flowed through him. Outside, the first Drachnor ships entered visual range. Their massive forms blotted out the stars, weapons primed and ready to unleash devastation. With a cry that echoed with the power of galaxies, Zane channeled the energy of the stellari through the heart of Astralis. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp around them. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and for a moment, the very fabric of the universe trembled. When the light faded and the disorientation passed, a breathtaking sight greeted them. Through the viewports of Astralis, no longer did the cold void of deep space greet them, but the familiar blue-green orb of Earth. Cheers erupted throughout the station. They had done it. The impossible mass teleportation had succeeded, but their jubilation was short-lived. Alarms blared once again as the census picked up multiple objects entering Earth's atmosphere. The Drachnor, it seemed, had managed to follow their quantum wake. Zane's mind raced. They couldn't risk a full-scale battle in Earth's orbit. The collateral damage would be catastrophic. There was only one option. "Lyra," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Can you use the heart to project a shield around Earth? Something to keep the Drachnor at bay while I deal with them?" Lyra's eyes widened. "It's possible, but, Zane, what are you planning?" Zane's expression was grim but determined. "Something crazy, but it's our only shot." Before anyone could stop him, Zane closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Using the incredible powers he'd unlocked, he projected his consciousness across the vast distances of space, directly into the flagship of the Drachnor fleet. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the command center, face to face with a stunned Lord Vex. "Impossible," Vex snarled, his reptilian features contorted with rage and disbelief. Zane allowed a small smile to play across his lips. "You wanted the power of the stellari, Vex. Well, here I am. Let's finish this. You and me, one-on-one. If I win, you leave Earth and never threaten my people again." Vex's mouth split in a nightmarish grin. "And when I crush you, little prince, what then?" "Then Earth is yours," Zane said, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "Along with all the secrets of the stellari." For a moment, the command center was silent save for the low hum of machinery. Then, with a roar that shook the very bulkheads, Vex lunged at Zane. The battle that ensued was like nothing the universe had ever seen. Vex, with his genetically enhanced Drachnor physique and eons of combat experience, was a whirlwind of slashing claws and brutal strength. But Zane, empowered by the full might of his stellari heritage, met him blow for blow. Energy crackled around them as they fought, reality itself warping with the force of their cosmic powers. Zane ducked and weaved, using his smaller size to his advantage as he landed precisely targeted blasts of energy. But Vex was relentless. A vicious swipe caught Zane across the chest, sending him crashing into a bank of computers. As he struggled to his feet, he saw Vex looming over him, claws raised for a killing blow. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Zane saw flashes of his life, his childhood on Earth, his whirlwind journey across the stars, the faces of all those counting on him. With a surge of determination, he reached deep within himself, tapping into powers he didn't even know he possessed. As Vex's claws descended, Zane's body erupted with blinding light. The Drachnor leader was thrown backward, crashing into his throne with bone-crushing force. When the light faded, Zane stood transformed. His body crackled with cosmic energy, his eyes shining like newborn stars. He was the living embodiment of the stellari legacy, the full potential of his bloodline realized. Vex, for the first time in his long life, felt fear. "It's over, Vex," Zane said, his voice resonating with power. "You've lost." With a gesture, Zane opened a portal back to Astralis, but before he stepped through, he turned back to the defeated Draknor leader. "Remember this day," Zane said. "Remember that peace is always stronger than conquest. If you ever threaten my people or any innocent world again, I won't be so merciful." As Zane vanished through the portal, the Draknor fleet retreated, leaving Earth's orbit with haste. On Astralis, now safely hidden in Earth's orbit, celebrations erupted as Zane returned victorious. But even as he accepted the accolades of his people, Zane knew this was just the beginning. There were countless worlds out there in need of protection, ancient mysteries to unravel, and a legacy to uphold. Zane Cooper, the boy from Montana who had dreamed of the stars, had become something far greater, a cosmic protector, a bridge between worlds, and a beacon of hope for galaxies to come. As he looked out at the stars, no longer distant points of light, but gateways to new adventures, Zane smiled. His greatest journey was just beginning. The end, or perhaps just the beginning of a cosmic saga.